the thing about the entertainment industry, like most industries, you see the flash of the forefront, but behind an artist, there are many jobs. Just like right now, we're doing an interview. There's a cameraman, there's people who write scripts, there's people who edit, there's people who, set up lights. These opportunities are there as well in the industry for African music business, but they may not be known up front because we just see the flash of the artist. So I think there's many opportunities if we chase them. This trip is going to be unfortunately too short, so I don't really know about collaborations right now because mostly we're here doing panels and speaking and trying to give of ourselves and our background. But I'm looking at collaborations all across the board. My career in music has spanned many genres. So in the same way I see African music having many genres, it's not just Afrobeat, that's just the thing that's popular now. But I'm a fan going all the way back to Fela Kuti and Mano Dibango. So the music, there's so many different sounds, so many different rhythms. I think that I would be looking to collaborate wherever there's true heart and true authenticity. Believe in yourself. Trust that you're on a path that was set for you if music is really your path, and persevere, because all of us, we had to do it. Me being here right now is a testament of that, because as I said in another panel earlier, we didn't start off with friends in high places. We had to keep knocking at the door. I remember the first time going to a record company and I was probably about 17 at the time, and I sat outside of it, literally in the lobby of MCA Records at the time for 8 hours, watch people go in and out just to get somebody to say, hey, come back tomorrow, but that come back tomorrow turned into coming back tomorrow and eventually a meeting. So you gotta persevere.
I think that we often take for granted that as Africans we see art all around us all the time. But what I find really reassuring and exciting is that people who've come through this particular exhibition, I think through the curatorial, we've been quite deliberate in bringing both South African and Ghanaian artists together. They've really loved seeing that. They've really loved to see the juxtaposition. Some people are looking at the materiality, which the detail in the way a Ghanaian artist will do their work in a South African. So the response is astounding, and I think that is what this whole conference is about. I think on the ground, where the rubber hits the road, you really at this point are not seeing the value in terms of for the fine arts. You'd like to see that the sector is taken more seriously as business, as a sector that is contributing to GDPs, as a sector that will turn around the economic jobs deficit, particularly among youth. So the target audience that you will see all of these artists here potentially under 30, and that is where a lot of unemployment is happening, not only in South Africa but across the continent. So I think governments really need to take fine arts in particular seriously over and above all the other arts, because that's where a lot of share of value can be derived. And the number of art fairs we've seen in the last 10 years has increased. We have Artex Lagos to Cape Town Art Fair and everything in between. Rwanda's also looking at art. So the demand has increased. We can track that by the number of art fairs we're seeing. Over and above that, you have individual collectors, and the age group of collectors increasing. We have indicators for that as well. So I think Africans are really taking the responsibility and taking seriously, individual Africans, the responsibility of, I think, not collecting from a place of, yes, it's cool and chic to do that now, but I personally as a curator seeing both business people and young professionals, realizing that if we don't take seriously the sector and really have these pieces remain here on the continent, then we'll continue this conversation that we're seeing with the Benin bronzes of bringing back our works. So it's not so much to be antagonistic to other markets or antagonistic to other communities, but it's to say that when we collect, we're saying we value. And so valuing ourselves begins with valuing the artworks that come from this continent.
There's always always been traditional artwork in Ghana. One of the books that I published, Ghana's Heritage of Culture, traces, particular patterns and symbols back to the 14th century. There's always been. In fact, our patterns and our symbols are, if you like, our hieroglyphics, because they all mean something. Every color, every symbol, every movement actually means something. So there's a full non-verbal communication that's always going on around us. So I've always been interested in it. I come from a royal family, and even the sound of drums and the pattern of the drums means something. So that's always been part of my life. But I have to say that there's nothing like being under COVID lockdown to get you to say, well, what else can I do? I'm stuck at home. And I looked around me at home, and I had kente and I had a dinkra, and I thought, how else to do it? So I started putting them on pots and then on masks. So I also made masks with traditional and customary symbols on it. So we have heritage pots, which is new, heritage masks, which came out from under COVID, but we've always had Heritage Project, which does the cultural books, strategic communications and documentaries. I think first of all, just myself learning about Ghanaian culture. I'm an Akan, and of course we have a Dinkra symbols, and everybody's supposed to know that. And I learned throughout my research that other ethnic groups also have their own symbols, so that was a good thing for me to know. Number two, that as much as we're different, some things stay the same, that some patterns and symbols in Côte d'Ivoire, in Togo, have resonance in Ghana and in Angola and in Cameroon. So it's been very exciting for me to, first of all, to get my own understanding of the Akan culture. Secondly, how it plays within Ghana, and then Ghana within the diaspora. There's a particular fabric, for instance, which we've done a hand-painted clay pot. It's called in Ghana the Angelina, and Angelina is actually the name of a song, very popular song back in the 50s and 60s of a high life band. In other countries, the same fabric is known as dashiki. In Southern Africa, it's also known. So there is a conversation that has taken place starting from the 14th century into now, and I think that the digital space is helping to bring it all a little closer together. I mean, for instance, being here, speaking with you, this conversation is going out to several hundreds, thousands, hopefully millions of people. So the art conversation has always been there. Now I am excited to be part of the translation of it.
There's a lot of inspiration that comes with culture, and so often we don't use that. And when I initially started, I actually wanted to tell an African story. What inspired initially was my grandfather's cows, because when he passed on, I actually inherited 8 of his cows, and one of them had a brown and white pattern. So as I was sitting at the farmhouse, just gazing around and looking, I thought to myself, what are the best ways of honoring the legacy of my father, as well as my late father, and as well as my late grandfather? And how can I produce a brand that is uniquely African and that also would inspire women, and also for women to carry something that is so valuable and that is so unique, because all our products are actually unique. So each person, we actually make this specifically for that type of woman. So a customer will choose and select from our various patterns, and then we'll actually design according to your design. So so that's a specialty and the niche market that we're focusing on. We see our business growing as broad as in Africa. So right now what we're doing is that we are partnering with and collaborating with other manufacturers in Africa, like in Kenya, where we source some of from our leather, and also buying skins from various other parts, like in the southern parts of Africa. And so we try to, collaborate with other people, with other businesses in other African countries, as well as obviously working with local tanneries and so forth. So we definitely want to have a better relationship and integration with other African countries and their manufacturers, in ensuring that we produce an African or made in Africa products, so that we either sell it amongst the African continent, and as well as focusing on exporting our products in the US. With a lot of challenges that Africa faces, and the lack of infrastructure, the lack of resources, the lack of capital, I think it's important right now for Africans to unite, to make sure that we we create our own resources because that is a challenge. So by collaborating and working together, that's the only way of telling our story that could be told to the rest of the world. So, and that's what we have. We have so much inspiration, so much creativity, so much passion, so much talent. But if we're not there to tell our stories, then who will be the one who's going to be telling that for us?
Fashion since the beginning, which is way back in 1992, we start with a vision to promote the Ethiopian hand weaving textile and product. So I work a lot with only, I can say, not any other than Ethiopian hand weaving fabric, which is made by hand with the traditional wooden looms. There is nothing in technology integrated. It is all my products are made of using the Ethiopian local cotton, different kind of counts of cotton from hand span to machine span, 20 count, 40, 60, and we use blending all those kind of cotton. We do our hand weaving. Then from the hand weaving, we produce ladies wear, and also we have accessories like shawls and different kind of scarves. But mainly we use the Ethiopian hand-woven fabric, and we have a cooperative, a women cooperative, that they work with us to do our hand weaving. In Ethiopia, we have really quite a very huge number of weavers in the country, whether it is outside of Addis or based in Addis. I'm based in the capital, Addis, and there are a lot of weavers. So it is a resource, and it's a beautiful tradition that we have a very unique and very beautiful fabric that is made of hand weaving. So first it is like you do a sustainable different kind of fabric instead of using machine span, because we add value to it. You know, using Ethiopian hand-woven fabric, it is something you promote your tradition, your heritage, your culture. At the same time, you do a modern design where the Western world can really see also the beautiful texture and fabric that we have. So mainly that's why I work a lot, and I work a lot with women because I believe in women empowerment and also giving a better lifestyle to a woman. So as a woman and as a mother, I love working with women, and all these years I have worked with women also.
One of the things that was definitely discussed was how streaming works and how YouTube as a platform works. Obviously, from our perspective at Universal, we think that there are great platforms that now give us more opportunity, especially for African content, to be discovered than ever before. You know, if you go back to the days of CDs and cassettes when we used to operate, you needed a physical product to move from A to B in order for somebody to be able to buy it. You now have platforms globally like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and more that allow people to upload music and for it to be available globally at an instance. Part of the debate was around whether there should be a local streaming service. And I think that's where there's a lot of conversation. And obviously, we support all kinds of platforms that allow for music to be consumed legally. I think that's the key point, right? As long as we're not talking about piracy websites, that there are great platforms. And if we're talking about creating another platform that focuses on local music, that's great. I think sometimes what Africa is not great at doing is collaborating around developing these kind of platforms. And I think, platforms like GHANAIAN allow for those conversations to exist. It's multiple countries participating. There are also financial institutions that could invest and could help establish something like that. If we look at what we've done as Universal, for example, we now exist in multiple countries on the continent. So we have offices in South Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Morocco and Ivory Coast, right? Which allows us to be more local and serve a local community rather than being in one location and trying to service the entire market. Also, in terms of exporting good content and good talent, just even during COVID, we had 6 billboards in Times Square for African artists who were releasing their music, which means that we're getting better at taking music from the continent and getting people to hear, to engage, and to consume that content outside of Africa. So I think there is progress. I'd like to see more African content globally on mainstream channels, and I think we're getting there. I think you're seeing mainstream radio, mainstream television is embracing content from Africa, whether it's music, whether it's film, and so forth. And I'd just like to see that happen even more.